Bob Blumer is a culinary adventurer, a celebrity chef with a surreal gene that inspires him to seek out weird food like 4-pound hamburgers and toilet bowl curry. He goes to some odd places in his slightly crazy, extremely colorful new TV show, which is based on finding the world's weirdest restaurants. It is my pleasure to welcome the weirdest Bob Blumer back to Studio 4 to tell us more. Weird and wonderful, I mean to say.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, we've known each other for a long time.
Very long time.
When you weren't living in that toaster trailer, just cooking in it, right?
Practically living it. I mean, you know, with cable television and all that.
Not
a lot of money to go around.
Exactly. And you're such a glutton for punishment, she says. So, the world's weirdest restaurants. Whose idea was it? How did it come about?
It was thunked up by one of the development execs at Perperny, which is the production company I work with.
Yes.
As soon as he mentioned it, I thought, what a great idea. In my travels as the glutton for punishment, I've been all over the world and seen a lot of weird restaurants. And then just the notion of filming those as well as all the other ones that we knew existed just seemed like such a great idea.
How did you find them?
Well, as I said,
Online?
we'd been to some of them
Right.
in our travels.
Sure.
We knew of others. And then, yes, we have a team of crack researchers who look for them. And it's funny, you know, people have asked me if there are any restaurants that were too weird. And the truth is that we were all about finding the weirdest, and what we were on patrol for was to eliminate the ones that weren't weird enough. Like, we were being vigilant about making sure they were really weird.
I bet you were. So the checklist was, staff has to be crackers, giraffe on the roof, goats in the front yard.
Those would all work.
They'd all work. Chocolate-covered ants at the front door. What?
The series isn't really so much about eating weird food. There are other series that exist right now on
Something
the
like
network.
Anthony Bourdain or
Well,
somebody
Anthony
like him.
and is it Adam Zimmerman? Somebody Zimmerman.
Right.
Who people sometimes confuse me with and then make me eat weird stuff. Like, I was on stage in the Philippines and in front of 400 people, and someone rushes the stage and hands me balut, which is the partially formed duck embryo in an egg, and like hands it to me on stage. And not exactly what I would have ordered if I was out at a restaurant.
I
but
guess not.
You have no choice. You can't stand up and say, no, you're confusing me with this other guy. You just shut up and eat this thing.
Well, it is funny. People come up to me and say, Vicky. I say, no, I'm not Vicky. I'm Fanny. They say, you're Gabbro. I've seen you. I know. I say, no.
It's so true.
No, we're best friends, but we don't look alike.
But it doesn't matter, because somehow people make connections that don't always happen to.
No, just when you think you're important, and you're so not, right? A little off the wall, but not important.
I get Kevin Brosh a lot, the Thirsty Traveler.
Right.
Right.
That would make sense.
Look like Kevin Brosh?
No, I promise. I promise you don't. So take me to Tokyo. Take me to some of these places.
Well, first of all, Tokyo is a very special city for us because we lived there for 3 weeks. There were so many weird restaurants in Tokyo that we found 15 of them. And we lived in Tokyo for 3 weeks, which was really fun. Just as a side note, living as a regular in Tokyo in a little businessman's hotel, like a cheap little hotel.
Right.
But learning to take the subway, learning where the cool ramen shops were, that was a really fun experience. And that's part of the pleasure of shooting the show is I travel around the world with a small crew of 4 people. And not only do we find these weird restaurants, but we get to experience some of the environment.
And were the Japanese friendly and curious and wanted to help you, all of that?
An amazing city. So vibrant. I mean, North America has vibrant cities. You'd think immediately of New York City. Tokyo just puts that to shame. It's just bustling 24 hours a day. Incredible.
Well, apparently you were monkeying around.
Well, that was in
Tokyo.
In a small izakaya just outside of Tokyo, and it was in the countryside. And izakayas are little local pubs and taverns. I mean, in Japan, here you have like Hapa Izakaya in Vancouver, and it's sort of like the best of what you'd find in
buzzy.
Japan. Yes, very buzzy. But there, this particular one was in the countryside, very small place, just where the locals come and hang out. Lots of little interesting bites, fresh mackerel, sashimi, and things like that. Karagi, which is this deep-fried chicken, little bits of chicken that have been marinated. Everything was pretty traditional about this place, except for one small detail.
Let's look at that one small detail now. Good segue.
My order, and I'm going to get a little cross-section of everything, along, of course, with a beer or two. Served up by a monkey. It was monkey see, monkey do when these furry friends first picked up the habit of delivering hot towels. And monkeying around now includes serving beer and bottle openers. I'll take the one that hasn't been in your mouth, thank you very much. You see this guy?
It's a little weird, but really fun too.
So, having a tough day, guy? Come here to drown your sorrows? Knock back a few after work?
You'll notice that the customers kind of start to treat the monkey like it's an average server and nothing is out of the ordinary.
Trying to keep this as a family business, so this is the next generation of waiters. Wouldn't you just want to take this home with you? So in addition to serving tables, do the monkeys help you cook as well?
No.
I don't think so.
How much do you tip a monkey?
Well, you know, I tried to just give the damn thing a banana, but
Didn't work.
Monkey wanted yen on the barrel head.
I bet, and I bet the owner watched over that.
Oh, you
but
know
what
it.
about the health inspector? Are monkeys clean?
Well, you know what? I guess let's just say that the rules for health inspection in rural Japan are a lot
Right.
different than they are, say, here
Right.
in Vancouver.
But the mind, who came up with that? Or maybe there's a staff shortage. Call up a monkey. I don't know.
You know, I think it was as simple as the owner's pet monkey at one point just like brought him a napkin, and then at some point, something
What a
went,
good idea. How to train a monkey. Because I saw him drinking orange juice, it looked like, but what if he grabbed your beer? Now we have the drunk monkey restaurant.
Exactly, exactly. And I was wondering about the food as well, but they're so well fed that they
Right.
don't. And you know, in case you're worrying that this is, you know, animal, like worried about animal welfare issues, it's a little bit like the set of a movie where they have kids and they often have twins because that way they can only work them half as much.
Right,
so
exactly.
there are several monkeys.
Several monkeys,
Several
and so if
monkeys.
monkey's tired, monkey gets to go have a banana
Exactly.
or eat
2 hours. That's it. 2 hours time limit. By the way.
Really,
That's
2
as much
hours,
as they
or
work.
because they may have a little ADD or ADHD, who knows? But they're eating killer bee grubs, or were you eating killer bee grubs?
Well, this is one of the things that happens when you're shooting a show that has a very well. I mean, for what we're doing, we have a big budget, but basically we make a whole pile of phone calls. We go over there, and then stuff happens. Sometimes it's what we expected. Sometimes it's not what we expected.
Right.
The owner, the guy that you saw just at the very end cooking, he's the owner's chef, pretty well everything. He has this thing for bees, and the day that we were shooting, he found a killer beehive. Not as in like a really cool beehive, but killer bees, like the
bees.
real deal. And he brought it
Really?
in, and it had squirming, festering killer bee larvae alive in it. Just you could actually hear it seething. And then also some killer bees. And as a special treat to me, he sauteed the killer bee larvae, and then he deep fried the killer bees. And he presented it to me. And again,
Right.
you're in a situation where you can't say, sorry, I have
Just
a
had
killer
lunch."
bee larva allergy. You know, it doesn't wash there.
No, I'm
so
sure
of course I
not.
had to eat the killer bee larva and the deep fried killer bee.
And
Well, let's say I'm not currently craving it. It's not like I say to myself,
Okay.
man, I got to get back to that.
any
izakaya."
ketchup in the restaurant?
Exactly.
No,
it was kind
not
of
in-
squishy and oozy. Let's
Ooh,
just say that.
I bet. Well, I've had ants, and you've eaten ants and stuff, and they're just kind of crunchy.
Inadvertently at a picnic,
Well,
perhaps.
oh, so you've never had a chocolate covered?
No, I haven't.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
Now, take me to San Antonio, because this one sounds fun. I was conceived in San Antonio.
You were?
Yep.
Well, I hope one of your parents didn't work at this restaurant. It's called Dick's Last Resort. And the whole shtick of this restaurant is that the servers insult you. Like, they insult you, they give you a hard time, they ignore you, they do basically everything they can do that often happens in, you know, lots of
Right.
restaurants we go to here. No, I'm
Yes.
just kidding.
Well, there was a restaurant here, the Elbow Room. I think it's still
Oh,
around. And that,
you're the
it
second person to mention.
Yeah, I know. No, but they were cheeky.
Right.
Not rude. They were like, you know, gave you some great shots.
This place, they do everything they can. They give you hats made out of paper that have insults on them.
Really?
Yeah, they just do everything they can to make sure you have as miserable a time as possible, which of course,
We're drawn to misery.
turns into a fabulous time, and people
I
come
know,
back.
we're not supposed to be. Let's take a break. We'll come back and talk more about the world's weirdest restaurants.